Let's. Last week we talked about yama, so I thought since we are talking about what I shall not do, let us talk about what I shall do. Let us talk about yama. The next of the anga, the next limb of yoga is niyama. Niyama, very simply, is the rules you live by. It is not enough to say I will not do these things. It is also important to say I shall do certain things. It's your personal discipline for more than any other. It's not a restriction, it is what you choose. This is what I will do no matter what. Now, of course, it seems a little contradictory. Yoga is all about freedom, yoga is all about liberation. Why are we now imposing fresh set of rules? Is it, as it is in society, in family, everything we have so many. But no creativity is possible without discipline. This, you've read Malcolm Gladwell, which is popular now. You know, Blink and all this books. So he had one of his latest books. There's a theory that the people who become really good at something, at any kind of skill, any kind of activity, they have to spend 10,000 hours at it. To become an expert in something, to become really superlatively skilled at some activity, you require to spend 10,000 hours at it. That only means you become an expert. It doesn't mean you become successful.
10,000 hours, that will be how many years?
Yeah, more than 3 years. More than 3 years of your life. But 3 years of your life is a long time. 10,000 hours of your life have to be spent practicing something again and again and again and again and again until it becomes second nature, until it becomes automatic. So yoga, of course, has always been dealing with human nature, human psychology, the human mind, human habits. So this whole notion of it is not enough to create the enclosure, it is not enough to create what I shall not do, this is my filter, this is what I keep away. It is equally important that these are the things I will do, no matter what. That is your niyama. That is your niyama. So without discipline, nothing can be achieved. And discipline also means choice. What do I choose to spend my time on? Now people keep saying I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. But whatever you are doing is what you have chosen to do. Whatever you are spending money on, that is where your heart really is, no matter what you say to the contrary. Whatever you engage with, whatever you read, whatever you listen to, whatever you see, that is where your heart really is. That is where your mind really is. Now, you want your mind to change without changing your actions. You want your life to change without changing your actions. You want to change your life without changing what you invest your time, what you invest your money in. That is not going to be possible. So niyama is a way of training you to be instinctively and automatically disciplined. So that anytime you need to make a shift, anytime you need to make a change, the new behaviors that become mandatory, that does not become problematic for you. Niyama is so that you are used to changing your behavior. Niyama is so that you are used to changing what needs to be done or what you do. See, yoga is very creative. It is never static. There are no rules. Most of these yama niyamas are actually like guidelines if you look at it. They're not really prescriptions. Though, of course, some people do start becoming very rigid and hard about it because people like specific instructions. People like specific instructions. But niyama is very clearly training yourself in discipline. If you train yourself in discipline, senior yogis, they don't really need to sit and meditate, but they know that if we give up the discipline, senior yogis don't really need to do the pranayama because their whole body is energized. Nothing is now going to, but they know that if we stop, If the discipline stops, that will spill over into everything else in life. So just for also an example, if you see somebody who's 70 years old and he's still meditating, he's still doing the kriya, he's still doing the asanas, then the younger people don't have excuses. You know? Yeah. Why do we like to see, whenever we see somebody old who's very physically active, why does that spontaneous admiration rise in us? We all like that, no? We all feel very impressed with that. Oh wow, look at that. You know? Look at what that person is doing at this age. You know? Because somewhere we know this point could not have been reached without discipline. This point could not have been reached without Niyama. So there are again in Patanjali, the Buddhists have about 10 niyamas, but that is for the people who have shaved their head and put on the saffron robe. You know? So those niyamas let us leave. Ours is not an ashram sadhana, we are not doing ashram. Let us just deal with Patanjali. So niyamas, we knowing what is the first discipline, the most important. Shaucha. Shaucha means cleanliness. Now, of course, it means physical cleanliness, though men and women have different notions of what constitutes physical cleanliness. Yeah, men don't really care to keep the house neat and clean. It's just a male vibration. Women simply have no clue about this. And so it is a universal power struggle, to get men to keep the house clean, to pick up around the house, to men don't mind letting the dishes pile up and scattering things all over the place. But please understand that it is just something that is part of being masculine. Men really, it does not matter to them. Neatness, tidiness does not matter. Men are slightly rumpled. Yeah, if they didn't have to go to work every day and if they didn't have to meet their girlfriend or whatever, they wouldn't even shave on a regular basis. So cleanliness, of course, external cleanliness is a very big thing. And one thing I've seen change in India in that houses are now tending to become very Spartan. Everything is tending to be put away. Everything is tending to be hidden, and so when you have a new house, the first thing is how much storage space, yes? Yeah. And even in Sex and the City, if you remember, one of the big things that Mr. Big does for Carrie is that he gives her this huge closet for her shoes, and it's all hidden away. Yeah. So it's a universal thing, that you can put everything out of sight and you can have very clean, uncluttered lines of sight. Because there is some psychological truth to that. There is some psychological benefit to that. If you go into a room where there are too many objects, you will feel that weight on your mind. Because each object has an energy impression which hits your mind. And you have to accommodate all those energy impressions. So if it is uncluttered, which is why the Japanese, basically it's because they had earthquakes all the time. So the Japanese are the only people who would get into their best clothes to go to sleep. Why? Because an earthquake could happen at any time and there would not be time to change. So they would actually wear, not now, but it used to be the common practice. And in Japan, there would be minimal, everything would be minimal. There would be no shelves that would be placed high, because in an earthquake, something that is placed on the shelf could come and hit your head. So everything, they learn to function from the low center of gravity. Why? Because the earthquake. But that cleanliness then became inherent in the Japanese mindset. So sometimes the environment forces it upon you. The environment forces it upon you. As little as possible. As little as possible, because you could lose everything. And the earthquake was not the problem. The problem was whenever there's an earthquake, lamps get knocked over and fires happen. So the maximum damage in earthquakes are usually caused by fires. So they learned not to invest their notions of success into things, into accumulating things, because every few years. So in that sense of Sauchata, but more important than physical or external cleanliness is mental cleanliness, is emotional cleanliness. To try and not have a dirty mind, to not have dirty emotions. Because many people are there, they are filthy people. Why do we say that somebody is a filthy person? It's not that just that they are externally filthy, but that you feel repulsed by their energy, you feel repulsed by how they talk, you feel repulsed by how they act. That discipline is much more important. So one of the things they say in yoga is that just be waht tapasya, just control your speech. Don't blow your stack and indulge in abuses. Don't say abusive words. Don't say hurtful words. Don't say all that is cleanliness. Don't think negative thoughts, because as you grow deeper and deeper in yoga, you will start realizing that your thoughts are also things, and your thoughts can manifest very clearly. The more you do meditation and kriya, the more your thoughts can manifest. You can start creating your reality. Unfortunately, it's easier to manifest negative and dirty things than it is easier to manifest positive things. How much time does it take to destroy something? How much time does it take to create something? So that discipline of cleanliness is actually a very great thing, because your level of cleanliness in your mind, in your emotions, in your speech, in your external, in your physical appearance, it shows you with no sort of dispute in the matter, how far are you willing to go? How much effort are you willing to take? Very clearly. And how much self-discipline do you have? If you get angry, can you restrain yourself from erupting in abusive words? If somebody offends you, can you restrain yourself from thinking vicious thoughts about them? So at the deeper level of yoga, it is not about physical cleanliness. It is not about physical cleanliness at all. The physical cleanliness is good for the reasons I told you, because if there is dirt, then there is fungus. If there are too many objects, then each object has a residue, has an imprint on your mind. So the more you multiply objects, that many things are sticking to your mind, and you have to sit and work at removing that imprint. So it's not a grand thing to accumulate things. Collectors actually are people who feel little lost and lacking in themselves, so they accumulate things. They start expanding the number of things that they have. And so the more things, the more value. The more valuable I have become, because I collected these things. Now that is okay, it is an understandable reaction, but it's not a very sensible reaction. So that is Sauchata, that is the cleanliness aspect of it. The next one is called Santosha, contentment. Now this is contrary to our entire world at the moment. The whole point of contemporary living seems to be just full of desires and want more and more, be discontent. Every time you turn on the TV, they are trying to persuade you to buy things. Fundamentally your life is lacking. Fundamentally your life is less than, because you haven't bought the latest gadget, the latest gizmo, the latest fast food, the whatever. So this notion of contentment is very important, because if you are constantly in the search of what more, what next, when will you ever be able to sit and assimilate what you have already achieved? Remember when I told you that yoga breaks through not step by step, but it breaks through in phases. You accumulate a lot of Shakti that breaks and comes through to the next level. You accumulate a lot of Shakti that overflows and comes to the next level. If you don't have contentment, you'll be always raising the lid. Not enough. Not enough at the moment. Now, contentment is a discipline of not being disappointed. Contentment is a discipline of not being cranky. Contentment, most of all, is a discipline which we probably need more than any other people in the world, because the great cultural critic Kapila Vatsyayan once said, "Bharat mein ek hi sthayi bhavna aur wo hai Irshya." There is only one constant emotion in India, and that is jealousy, that is spite. So why do we feel jealous or spiteful? Because we think that somebody else has something or attained something that we haven't, and then that whole cleanliness goes right there, because now our mind has become dirty and our emotions have become dirty. So the notion of contentment, how can you progress if you're constantly comparing yourself? How can you progress if you're constantly feeling like a loser? Because why else would you feel, I have a very nice car, but it's not a Maybach, it's only a Mercedes. Now, if a person with a Mercedes feels like a failure, then really that person should not be in yoga. Now, of course, that is not the contemporary mindset. The contemporary mindset is that until you are right at the top of the totem pole and you have every single useless and futile gadget in the world, yeah, you have not made it. And we have all bought into it at some level. We have all bought into it at some level. But yoga says if you want to get anywhere, first be okay with where you are. Contentment is about reality. See, at one sense, none of us are really deeply disturbed at the thought that I'm not going to climb Mount Everest. Anybody really have a problem with that? Most of us don't. Nobody really has a problem with we are not going to win an Olympic gold medal in some athletic event. Nobody really has a problem with that also. But in so many things in life, why this joker has all these things? Yes? So contentment is just a sort of, this is my reality. Contentment is possible also when you really look at, okay, this is what is possible for me. No doubt with yoga, your bounds of possibility, your bounds of strength and energy, everything increases. But at the moment, this is what is possible. So in that sense, Santosha is just emotional equanimity. Santosha is actually one of the greatest things, because when Ramana Maharshi was about to take Mahasamadhi, he actually told his people that I don't really have anything to tell you, but I can tell you one word, Santosha. You have made me happy. So it is the ultimate blessing if you can bring it into your life. Santosha. My guru's name is Santosh. I never call her Guruji because I like to say that word. I am a very asantosh fellow. I'm very fiery, volatile kind of guy. I'm not. Santosha is a big problem for me. Not that cleanliness is not a problem, but as a child I used to be hyper clean. I used to be hyper organized. I would stack all my books and then I would stand at the edge and watch that no edges were jutting out. So I went so far in that direction that today I don't care. So it has to balance out somewhere. So I used to be a hyper clean and meticulous and organized kind of person. But yes, Santosham is a problem until I've learned to accept many things. I've learned to accept. So every time I say Santosh, I like it because that it reminds me of that quality that I need. So that's why I don't call her. Also, दूसरों को बहुत चिढ़ होती है because they see me call the guru by name, तो उनको लगता है तो ईर्ष्या is there. The third quality is the most misunderstood quality. It is called tapas, not tapasya. Tapasya is the process of doing tapas. Now, tapas, literally in Sanskrit, it means to burn. It means to, that's what's happening to you by the way. Tapas. Yeah, with the kriya, you have this is the flame area, no? This side is the Manipura, it's the flame area. This is the solar plexus, here is the Manipura. It's all fire energy. So that tapas has happened. Tapasya is the certain processes of meditation, chanting, mantra, murti puja, kriya to increase tapas. But at the deepest level, what does tapas mean? Tapas means live intensely. Whatever it is that you are doing, you do with your full commitment. You do not in a half-hearted, lukewarm manner. You do whatever it is that you are doing. At the moment, what is it you are doing? Let all your attention be there. Let all your emotion be there. Let all your mind be there. Now, the Chinese Zen Buddhists, the Chinese and the Japanese, they used to train with the spear. Because the spear is the kind of weapon that if you commit with it, then there is no pulling back. Just one thrust. And if you miss, you're dead. So they wanted that kind of activity in their daily life. They wanted that when we do something, we are so disciplined and so aligned that just that one thrust is all that is needed. So tapas is very simply raise your intensity, not raise your anger, not raise all your psychological problems. But just be intense, which is why if you see yogis, they're not angry, but they seem to be very intimidating. Why? Because they just turn and they look at you and it's like some tiger that has just seen breakfast, They are just intense people. They are in permanent tapas. Of course, there are processes to raise the internal heat, to raise the internal energy. All that we are doing is that. Basically, we are working to raise the level of tapas within us. But just living intensely is something that everybody understands. Those who become, quite apart from the 10,000 hours that you need to put into whatever it is that you do, those who become successful are intense people. Though of course today that is a criticism. He's too intense. That goes along with let us accumulate things. So the criticism of intensity is directly related to not having Santosha. No? When we say somebody is too intense, what we mean is the quality of tapas unknowingly has activated in them. So what do you burn for? That is what it means. What is it that you burn for? What is it that you yearn? What is it that is really, really important to you? What is the thing that you want more than anything else?
Mine will always be one answer.
Okay.
Standard. Standard. Mine is just one answer. And you are very intense. From yourself.
Yeah, of
or
course.
from
She is a
others?
hardcore yogi. No?
You understand it from yourself or from others? Both.
For myself. But I know.
There is a famous yogic story. This disciple asked his teacher, I have been doing all these practices for such a long time, but I have not seen God. So please help me. Now he thought he is my guru, so he will be kind and compassionate. But his guru was one of the hard style fellows. So he said, okay, I'll give you the answer. Chalo, it's time to go have bath. He went to the river to have the bath. He caught all the women, held his head under the water for 1 minute. And then he took him out and he said, so what did you think? You were thinking of the Guru or God? No, I just wanted air. He said, yeah, you will know God when you want God the way you wanted air. So when you have that intensity, when nothing else matters, which is why in yoga they keep saying work with the breath, because in the end, the breath is the most important thing in life. It is a literal truth. It is a factual truth. It is an unassailable truth. There are only two things that nobody has any arguments with. One is we will all die, and the second is that breath is the most important thing. बाकी सब में opinions होते हैं, but इन दो बातों में there are no opinions. So that is why yoga says you want to get enlightened, you want to get liberated, like you need to breathe. That is tapas. That sheer level of intensity that is required. Now, of course, breathing has now become a semi-conscious process. Sometimes we are aware of how we breathe, Most of the time we are not aware of how we breathe. How we circulate our blood, all those things have become completely automatic processes. In yoga, you can actually get control back. You can actually decide at the rate your heart pumps. You can actually start giving instructions to your digestive system, to your lymphatic system, to your nervous system. You can do many things, but those take years and years of effort. But it can be done. You don't need to leave it all to the autonomic systems of the body. You can actually make it consciously controlled. Again, only possible with tapas. Don't mistake tapas for tapasya. Tapasya is the process of developing tapas. Don't mistake the two. Anything that you do with intensity can become tapasya, because all life is yoga. All life is yoga. Anything that you do with intensity can become tapasya. Alright, Svadhaya. Now there is even a very famous movement called the Svadhaya movement. Yeah, Radhavaswami, they have a Svadhaya movement. Now Svadhyaya literally means self-enquiry or enquiry into the self, capital S, which means the soul, the Atma. It has multiple meanings in yoga. It means learning the scriptures, it means learning the techniques, it means sitting in satsang. Satsang is what we do. We are in satsang, we are learning. But fundamentally, it means knowing who you are. Who am I? Of course, that is very high level, Ramana Maharishi kind of self-inquiry. Of course, Atma Vichara is very important. But at a very simple level, who are you? Now I asked the question, what do you burn for? She was like, I don't know. Which is why the next step after tapas is Svadhyaya. Who am I? If you know who you are, you know what you burn for. You know what lights a fire under your ass. See, many people when they come to yoga and all that, they say being enlightened is the most important thing for me. I love God more than anything else. Not true. Not true. Because if that was true, it would have happened by now. So yes, that is an aspiration. That is something you desire in time to happen. When this fellow, Saint Augustine, he was one of the great early Christians. He wrote a very famous book called The City of God. So he was a very playboy kind of Roman aristocrat. And then his mom kind of gradually got him into being a Christian. So when he became a Christian, one of the things they wanted him to do was to be celibate. Yeah, don't fool around, don't keep having affairs, don't keep raping your slave girls. So he created this really awesome prayer. I mean, it is so touching and so hilarious. He used to pray, oh God, please make me chaste, please make me celibate, but not just yet. Yeah, so a lot of us, yes, we would like to be enlightened. Yes, we would like to love God more than anything else in life. Yes, we would like to do, but not just yet.
I was going to say that.
Not just yet.
This is satsanga for when after 60.
Actually, that's the worst time to go into a satsang. If you go into a satsang when you're after you're 60, all you can do is accumulate good karma for your next life. It's too late. If you leave it that long, unless you're exceptional. Yoga is for young people. Yoga is for healthy people. Yoga is for successful people. Rajneesh is right. I want successes. I don't want losers and failures looking for mental peace. I want people who've succeeded and realized this is not enough. Only they can actually do yoga. He was right. He used to say that all the time. Yogis know that, but they also know that people won't come until pain happens in their life. People won't come until trauma happens in their life. Then they come looking for. If everything is going well, nobody comes. Even in tarot readers know that. Nobody comes because their life is going well. They come only because trouble has erupted. So it is a kind of karmic stick or a destiny stick to force people into improving themselves, to force people into tapasya, to force people into svadhyaya. So who am I? What are my real values? Now, In yoga, unfortunately, far too many yogic schools, Svadhyaya becomes all holy holy. Learn the scriptures, learn the techniques, sit in satsang. No. Who are you? What do you really care about? And be honest. What is it that you really, really want? What is it that you really, really like? What is it that you... So you need to do a lot of... So we had all these psychological techniques in India for people to come to full emotional maturity. Cultures, age there. So all these things got disconnected. All this was very normal. All this was very normal. You did not have to sit in a group like this or in an ashram to learn these things. All this was very normal. But this is very important. For me, I think the Svadhyaya is probably the most important aspect of the... What are you? And please don't go asking other people. Yeah? Because they have an impression of you. We are all many people, yes? We are what other people think we are. We are what we think we are. We are what other people project onto us. We are what we project onto ourselves. And somewhere deep below all that is what we actually are. So you need to eliminate all these external filters and external movies and external projections. What are my real values? And there are so many lovely books, tools, techniques, everything that help you just to come to that. What are my real values? What do I really care about? What do I actually want to do? Not because it is socially approved. Now, unless you can do that, you cannot progress in yoga. Yes, you will develop because you're doing the meditation, your mind will become still. Yes, because you're doing the kriya, you will become healthy. But the real deep genetic level transformation, the real transformation of consciousness, the ability to awaken other people, the ability to become enlightened, those things won't. You need to figure this out. You need to figure this out. And yoga is not about perfection. Yoga is about completeness. If you know that this is my weakness, it is your weakness. Is it a dangerous weakness? Is it an immoral weakness? Is it an illegal weakness? Then eliminate it. Otherwise you let it be. No? So you need to know that. You need to. So it's vitally important, and unfortunately, the process activates anxiety. So what do people do? They go and do more meditation. They go and do more kriya. They go and do more mala japa. But they just won't face who they are. Because all these are things to do. Whereas with Svadhyaya, you just have to engage with who you are. Who you are. What is your true nature? What is your true nature? And that, trust me, is not easy. It's not easy.
Is it also about, is it on that I've heard a lot, and for me it stays quite true also, my personal Svadhyaya, which is the witness personality within you.
See, that is very advanced level.
Really?
Yeah. The witness comes in meditation. Once the witness activates, it never stops. But it's very difficult to keep the witness even in the middle of what you're doing. That's no longer Svadhyaya. That has become Sakshi Bhava. So I don't know who has confused this with you, because the Svadhyaya nahi hota hai, Sakshi Bhava. You have become the Sakshi, and now you can observe yourself exactly like you are a little outside your own body and you're watching yourself. It's quite fun when it happens. Your consciousness goes out of your body and you can observe yourself getting through the day and doing the things and talking to people. It's quite a remarkable thing. So that is Sakshi Bhava. And it should not be told to people that it happens in the early stages, only to rare people. It normally requires a lot of effort till that happens. Because in the beginning you think you're going mad, you think you're developing multiple personalities, split personality, insanity. Because your consciousness actually sort of locates outside your head. Your consciousness moves outside your head into your pranamaya kosha, and it's quite disorienting for people. So you can actually see that. You can actually see yourself like you're watching your own movie. It's quite remarkable, it's quite wonderful, and it's a brilliant way to be, because then you just don't get into that whole competitive or anxiety-ridden mode. It's happening. The process is happening. Ulcers come because of anxiety. Ulcers come because of no Santosha, no? Competitiveness, comparison. Those are the reasons why ulcers come. When you come into Sakshi Bhava, Santosha is a given. You don't really. But there are some downsides to that, so people don't like it to happen all the time. But it's quite an awesome state.
Which downside?
If you have social responsibilities, you don't become so hung up on fulfilling them. You begin to feel, in 50 years will it matter? Of course, in 50 years nothing matters. Or in 100 years we'll all be dead. That's a reasonably accurate statement to make. I mean, exceptional people may be there, but it's a reasonably accurate. So in 100 years will it matter? No, doesn't matter. So yogis have to be concerned about that. That you can go so deeply into that state that you stop caring about the mundane. Or just the normal. You just stop caring about the normal. And the last one, the last Niyama is the most difficult. It's, as in all things in yoga, it is extremely simple, therefore it is difficult. Ishvarapranidhana, which means surrender to Ishvara, not to Deva, yes? And by now I hope most people understand the difference between a Deva and Ishvara. So surrender to God. Now sounds very nice, sounds very holy, we have great sense of patting ourselves on the back because we have now surrendered to God. But it has a huge problem encoded within. What is the problem? Any guesses? What is the problem with this? No, if you surrender to God, there is a problem in your life. Immediately that problem manifests. Or rather, problem in inverted commas. What is the problem? You can't complain anymore. You have surrendered. Now God is taking care of your life. So whatever is happening to you is exactly what is supposed to happen. Yeah? This I had to learn the very hard way. Because I was grouching and complaining about my life to my guru, to Santosha, and she said, if you have surrendered, everything that happens is what is meant to happen. So what is this I am hearing? And like a hammer hit my head, I realized my surrender was conditional and partial. No, my surrender was predicated upon this must happen, that must happen in the time frame and according to how I want it. Then he should have pranidhana. It's complex. It means that you offer your entire prana actually to Ishvara. You give the dhan of your entire life to God. So it might have been, it's a polysemous, I don't want to get too much into it because let's be honest, here is the immediate problem. Even people who say, oh, I don't have any will, I only obey my guru. 99% of them are flat out lying. And they're not lying knowingly, they're lying unconsciously. If you can do that, it is one of the most fantastic things. If you can just stop fighting and struggling and saying, okay, I am just opening myself to the Guru Shakti, let it flow, your life will automatically become better. But people can't do that because they have not done the self-inquiry. They have not done like, who am I? And then most people can't do that. So it becomes it's very easy to say that I have surrendered to God and I trust God and all that until something bad happens in your life. Then immediately it becomes, where is God? Or the 70s used to have a standard thing in all the Hindi movies where the hero would scold God. Yes? He would go to the temple and he would scold God because bad things have happened in his life. And it used to be one of our famous sentimental kind of things. But the truth is, if you have surrendered to something, you have lost your power to complain. So, this is usually the most difficult niyama. Because it is very rare for a teacher or for a person, for a teacher to have somebody who surrendered or for a person to surrender. It is very rare. People say also, oh, I am totally surrendered to my husband or to my wife. Both of them are lying through their teeth. Because if you were, you would not be talking to me. There would be no problems. Though if it can be done, that's also awesome. That's one of the greatest sadhanas. That is the mutual surrender in marriage. It's one of the most phenomenal sadhanas. One day I'll talk about it. But people don't have. They don't have that level of tapas. They don't have that level of svadhyaya. They don't have that level of cleanliness. After all that, in this case, yes, this is the one thing which can be possible only after all the others are gone through. It's not like after you have achieved, you can, okay, now I can be a dirty, filthy pig. No, not at all. Now I don't need to do self-inquiry. Not at all. Even the greatest rishis have fallen. So, hum kis khet ke nahi. We need to keep checking what we are doing is right, what we are doing is yama, niyama, always. If you can surrender, nothing better. Because then the whole universe starts rotating to fix your. But there is a difference between what we think we want and what we actually need. And the universe gives you what you need. It doesn't give you always what you want. If you're very lucky, your wants and your needs normally are in synchronous vibration. But most of the time our wants are here and our needs are here. So the universe gives you what you need. God gives you what you need. This is something that people find very difficult. Very difficult. I am not, even now I am not saying that the surrender is complete. Because I do realize, even now when I am sitting and doing my Svadhaya, I can realize, okay, there is this holding back. There is this condition. There is this desire. It's not 100%. So it's a process. I hope one day it is. Because I've seen people who've done it completely and they are awesome people. It's just amazing thing to see. My personality is such that it's very difficult. So that is my challenge that I have to overcome. That is my personality. But in most things I can surrender, and most things I can leave it open. So even partial surrender is better than no surrender. Partial surrender is better than no surrender. It's not easy. It's people think this is the easiest part of the Niyama. Actually, it is the most difficult. Because there is no two ways about it. It is either done or it is not done. Yes, there is a process of doing, no doubt, but either you have or you have not. So it becomes a little problematic. But when people hear that we can't complain anymore, that's it. They have no more desires to surrender. I can't have any desires? No, you can't have any desires. Why? Because you have surrendered. Now you will be taken care of. They don't trust the process. They don't trust the process. They don't trust all the assurances. So, it's like a... But if it can be done, which is why they say normally it takes very, very phenomenal yogis only can do it. The normal person can't do it. The normal person can't. We can do all the others. We can do all the self-inquiry and all the cleanliness and we can do immense tapasya. But surrender everything and no longer have any. Just trust that whatever happens, you can see the stomach knot, and you can see the breath become shallow because anxiety. Okay? So those are the 5 niyamas, the 5 rules in Sarvamsha.
It's